Rivers. Rivers are flowing bodies of fresh water that move continuously from higher elevations toward lower ground, eventually reaching seas or oceans. They form when rainwater and melting snow collect in natural channels carved into the landscape over thousands of years. People have relied on rivers for drinking water since ancient times because the flowing motion helps keep the water relatively clean compared to standing water. The movement also makes rivers easy to access from their banks. Major civilizations grew along rivers like the Nile, Ganges, and Yangtze precisely because they provided a steady water supply for drinking, farming, and transportation. Lakes. Lakes are large bodies of fresh water that sit in natural depressions in the Earth's surface. Unlike rivers, lakes don't flow continuously in one direction. Water enters them through rivers, streams, rainfall, and underground springs, while it leaves through evaporation or outlet streams. Some lakes formed thousands of years ago when glaciers carved deep basins into the land. Others appeared when tectonic movements created valleys that gradually filled with water. Lakes serve as important water sources because they store massive amounts of fresh water in one place, making them ideal for cities built nearby. The Great Lakes in North America, for example, hold about 20% of the world's surface fresh water.
Groundwater. Groundwater exists beneath the Earth's surface, filling spaces between rocks and soil particles. Rain and melted snow seep down through the ground until they reach layers of rock that water cannot pass through. The water collects above these impermeable layers in formations called aquifers. People access groundwater by drilling wells that reach down into these aquifers. This source provides about half of all drinking water worldwide because it's naturally filtered as it moves through layers of sand, gravel, and rock. The filtration process often makes groundwater cleaner than surface water, though it can take decades or even centuries for aquifers to refill once they're depleted. Rainwater. Rainwater is precipitation that falls directly from clouds and can be collected before it touches the ground or flows into other water sources. Throughout history, people have gathered rainwater from rooftops and channeled it into storage containers. The water is naturally soft and free from many minerals found in groundwater, though it picks up whatever particles exist in the air as it falls. In areas with seasonal rainfall, communities have built elaborate systems to capture and store enough water to last through dry periods. Modern rainwater harvesting has become popular again as cities look for ways to reduce strain on traditional water supplies. Springs. Springs occur when groundwater naturally flows up to the Earth's surface through cracks or openings in rocks. The water emerges because underground pressure pushes it upward, often after traveling through underground passages for miles. Some springs produce just a trickle, while others release thousands of gallons per minute. The temperature and mineral content of spring water depend on how deep underground it traveled and what types of rocks it passed through. People have valued springs throughout history because the water emerges already filtered by its journey through underground layers, and the constant flow means the source doesn't run dry like rainwater collection might.
Glaciers and snowmelt. Glaciers and snowmelt provide fresh water in a frozen form that releases gradually as temperatures rise. High mountain ranges and polar regions store vast amounts of fresh water as ice and snow. When spring and summer arrive, or when glaciers slowly move and break apart, this frozen water melts and flows down into rivers and streams. Communities living near mountains depend heavily on this seasonal melt for their water supply throughout the year. The ice acts as a natural storage system, holding water during cold months and releasing it when people need it most during warmer, drier periods.
Reservoirs. Reservoirs are artificial lakes created by building dams across rivers or in natural valleys. Engineers design them specifically to store large quantities of water for human use. When a dam blocks a river, water accumulates behind it until a large lake forms. Cities and agricultural regions rely on reservoirs because they can control when and how much water gets released. The stored water remains available even during droughts when rivers might run low. Reservoirs also help manage flooding by capturing excess water during heavy rains. Building them requires careful planning since they permanently change the landscape and affect ecosystems, but they've become essential infrastructure for growing populations.
Desalinated seawater. Desalinated seawater comes from oceans and seas after salt and minerals have been removed through industrial processing. The ocean contains about 97% of Earth's water, but the salt content makes it undrinkable without treatment. Desalination plants use various methods to separate salt from water, with the most common being reverse osmosis, where water gets forced through special membranes that block salt molecules. Countries with limited freshwater sources but access to coastlines have invested heavily in this technology. The process requires significant energy, making it more expensive than other sources, but it provides a nearly unlimited supply as long as the technology keeps operating.
Fog and dew collection. Fog and dew collection captures moisture directly from the air before it becomes rain or groundwater. In coastal areas and high-altitude regions where fog regularly rolls in, people set up special mesh nets or surfaces that catch tiny water droplets. The droplets combine and run down into collection containers. Dew forms overnight when air temperature drops and moisture condenses on cool surfaces. Some desert communities have survived for generations using this method during seasons when no rain falls. The technique produces small amounts compared to other sources, but it works in places where conventional water sources simply don't exist.